Hello everybody, MD Polo here. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at another HK, and this is the last one of the guns that I got for Christmas series, if you will. And we get another wonderful little black box with the magical red letters. It is another HK, and I think I've saved the best for last. Once again, I want to thank our friends over at the Sportsman's Loft in North Dakota for making it possible for me to get my hands in such wonderful firearms, so thank you very much to them. And today I bring to you the HK P8A1. This is something very special. There are very few of these in the United States. Now mind you, it's not a pistol that is unusual in the rest of the world or maybe rare, but it is here because HK USA never imported this into the US. Some, of course, have made their way into our shores by third-party importers, but not directly through HK, and they've been imported in very, very limited numbers. So of the HKs, besides a P7 and a couple of others, this is probably the most rare HK that I currently have in my collection. You get two mags, and the mags are different from the regular HK mags that you've seen in the past, the USP mags, and they are translucent, and that was done at the request of the German military and other government agencies, so visually you can see how many rounds you had left in the mag and not just through little peepholes. And you get two of them, and that's all you get in the box. Sorry, just bumped you. You get two mags and you get the pistol, and that's it. So let me put this back in the box, put the box away, and let's take a quick look at the HK P8. I do have my notes because there's some details about this that I want to make sure that I get correct. So if I stop for a second and look at my notes, please be a little patient with me on that. There are a couple of things. This is a regular USP, for all intents and purposes, a USP in 9mm. There are a couple of things that are different as I let you walk around it and take a look at this P8. And it was back in 1994 that the German military, as well as other of their government agencies, decided that they needed to update their firearms. They decided they were using very old and not too far removed from World War II pistols as the sidearm of their military and government agencies. So they put out a contract, and they talked to HK. And the military designation would have been the P8. And the P8, as far as German designations, is very similar to what the here in the U.S. with the Mark 23, the Mark 24. Those are the designations for specific firearms, and it is not the model number of any particular of the firearms. So the same in Germany with the P8. And the military version of the P8, it would simply say P8 without the A1. The A1 is more of the updated version from what I could find out, for civilian use or for the civilian market, but it does have some upgrades, and we'll go through that over the regular P8. And like I said again, it is 9mm, and another way you can tell if it wasn't the P8A1, if it just said P8, but if you wanted to see if there was actually a military version of the P8, all the proof marks that you see here, and in this more modern version, some of the proof marks are down here. In the P8, you would have all those proof marks right over here, right on the slide in between P8 and the 9mm. It wouldn't have A1, but the proof marks would be right here. So that's one quick way where you can see whether you have an original military version or the civilian version. Another way you can tell is by the sights. So you can see here you've got fluorescent sights, metal sights, and it's a nice, very nice sight picture. I've always liked the USP sight picture, but these are fluorescent sights. So if you hit them with a flashlight and charge them, they'll stay on for some time, and actually they work really well. Let's see if I can do this for you. Charging them a little bit, and turn some lights off. And you can see how they glow in the dark. There we go. Let me see if I can cover this a little bit more. There you go. So it gives you an idea of how they glow in the dark. And they'll stay on for about an hour or so. But they really do the job very well. And actually, I find that they glow brighter, quite a bit brighter than regular tritium. But tritium is a controlled material in Europe and especially in Germany, so they don't, I'm not sure permit is the right word, but they choose not to use them for the tritium night sights. Another difference is going to be the barrel. And for the P8, and originally the USP, let's focus catch up a little bit. As you can see, there's no ring, nothing was done back then. But in the original P8 and the first USPs, they did not have polygonal rifling, they had standard rifling. And it was not too far after they started producing the USPs with standard rifling that HK's customers really complained. They wanted the polygonal rifling, and that's what they wanted. So HK responded pretty quickly with the polygonal rifling, but as far as the military was concerned, they had already shipped many P8s to the military with a standard rifling. So that's because that's what the military requested. At that time, HK just made the decision that for the P8, they were just going to continue supplying them with standard rifling barrels. And for the civilian USP series, they were going to change and continue to make them with polygonal rifling. So that's another difference with a regular USP. Moving further back, one of the main differences that you're going to see is going to be with the control system here before the fire, the safe, and for the decocker. As you can see, versus a regular USP, and this USP you saw it a video or so ago. This is the Custom Sport. Fantastic pistol. Is basically a USP expert, but in the size of a regular USP. Match barrel, match trigger, just, this is an awesome pistol. But it has the regular, what we're used to, the regular safe on the up position. The gun is disabled, and yes, it's been safety checked. So you cock the hammer, and you want it on safe, you want to carry it cocked and locked, there you go. The pistol is disabled. And if you choose to fire, the safety goes down and you're on fire, and then you can go. With a P8 is exactly the opposite. And there's the pistol. So if you wanted to carry it cocked and locked, well, go down and unsafe, and there you are. Now if you wanted to decock it, you just keep going all the way down and it decocks it, but look what happens to the control lever. It doesn't go back to fire, so you can be in double action like you would on the regular USP. It automatically defaults back to the safety. So you have to consciously make the effort to go back up to fire, so now you're ready to go. So here we are on safe. And on the regular USP, here we are on safe. So you can see the difference between the position of both controls. Completely the opposite. And this was not done by accident, nor was it a fluke or anything like that. Remember that I mentioned earlier the Germans were converting their pistols from quite old, and in some agencies all the way back to World War II pistols. And the ones that were using back then had exactly this type of system of control, where you had to, the safety was down, and in order to fire, you swiped up. The German military felt that their soldiers and police officers and agency officials that would be carrying this weapon already had the muscle memory, the training to swipe up to fire, swipe down for safe. They didn't want to change them, retrain people. They wanted to stick to what they already had as far as training and muscle memory, battery of arms. That's why this P8 and the P8A1 retain the old-fashioned, if you want to call it that, operating system as far as the German military is concerned. So you had the P8A1 in the handle in the grip, instead of having the USP. Here on this side, you have nothing. It was just blank. Same texture on this side of the pistol. And unlike the USP, no, it's actually exactly the same texture. But what I was going to say, unlike this USP, you don't have the match trigger. You can see there some of the adjustments, the adjustment screw. You don't have it over here. This is just a regular run-of-the-mill, if you want to call it that, HK USP trigger. It is a double action, single action. It has a 4 1/4 inch barrel, and the double action is pulling at 11 1/4 pounds. So let me show you that. So the double action is going to be regular USP. Double action, smooth, but it's a long, hard pull, 11 1/4 pounds. And then cycles, and then the single action is going to be at 4 1/2 pounds, 4 1/4 pounds. There's the reset, nice, much nicer than the P30L that I showed you earlier. And then you pull, you're at the wall, and then 4 1/4 pounds breaks that wall, and off you went again. Another difference you're going to find is the material, the nitrocarburized steel on the slide, but the material, the coating that they put on it on the P8A1 is going to be nicer. It's going to be a little bit more resistant than the one that was originally put on the P8. And I'm not going to open it for several reasons, one of them being YouTube, that they consider taking the slide off, showing it to you, putting it back on. Now it's a modified firearm, and we all know what happens when that takes place. But with when you open it up on the inside, there were several key points where HK identified that there were several stress points, because in Europe, the militaries in Europe, and especially in Germany, they use very hot loads, very hot loads. And HK identified several parts on the USP that there were stress points, and some of the frames were cracking. So for the P8, later models of the P8 and the P8A1, they actually beefed up the slide. When you open it up and looking at it through the bottom, you can see some parts of the slide where they were actually beefed up and reinforced in order to withstand all those high pressure rounds that the military was putting through it. Again, one of the most tested pistols in the world. And I wanted to bring and show it to you. I'm very proud of this one. One of their most unusual as far as the ability to get it here in the US. One of the most rare pistols that I have in my collection. And once again, thank you to the guys at the Sportsman's Loft for making this available. And I believe they got a couple more left over at the shop. So there it is, HK P8A1. I want to know what you think about it. Do you own it? Would you own it? And on that note, let me tell you a little bit about, well, what does it cost? The value that you put on something that is very rare and difficult to get, well, that's up to you whether it's worth it. But this is what it's selling for right now, if you can find another one. Is that worth it? Is it expensive? It's a pretty hefty premium compared to a regular, well, this is not a regular, but a regular USP. But the fact that you really can't find them here in the US, I think it's worth every penny. I look forward to your comments. Thank you very much for joining me today. Please remember that I upload videos every Friday morning, and when I can on Wednesday mornings as well. I'm very active on Instagram. There you can see what's coming down the pipeline way before it hits YouTube, so please give me a follow over there. Once again, thank you for stopping by, and until the next time, God bless.